Stormtroopers were one of the earliest soldiers we see in Star Wars, and when you look deeper, you see just how many different variants there are past the basic Stormtrooper. Today, I'll be breaking down and explaining the 10 best Stormtrooper types we see in Star Wars. These will be ranked, and I'll start at 10 and work my way down to 1. The troopers will keep getting better and better. It is only my opinion, so you don't have to agree. Without any further ado, let's get right into the video. At the 10 slot, I chose the Mortar Stormtroopers, also known as Artillery or Shell Troopers. This was a variant of the basic Stormtrooper, loyal, of course, to the Galactic Empire. These guys were pretty cool as they carried explosive-loaded backpacks and primarily focused on indirect combat. These Shell Troopers would focus on launching explosives at different types of angles to fall on the battlefield from a safe location. They were equipped with standard Stormtrooper armor with yellow markings which showed their specialization. Mortar Troopers also appeared in The Mandalorian, where they were working for Moff Gideon on the planet Tython in an effort to capture Grogu. All in all, I think Mortar Stormtroopers and their explosives are a sweet variant and deserve the number 10 spot. At the number 9 slot, I chose Flame Troopers, an interesting Imperial variant of the Stormtrooper. They were noted for, of course, their use of flamethrowers and fiery weapons, which they used to fight in battles or to fight off fauna. Their armor was similar to Stormtroopers, but they had maroon markings along with a backpack attached to the flamethrower and goggles over the mouth. Their role was to defend Imperial facilities from fauna or enemies that threatened Empire territory. Their flame rifle had a range of roughly 10 meters. During an early rebellion against the Empire, Flame Troopers were relocated to Kashyyyk, where they helped defend Imperial facilities against Kashyyyk's native beasts. They were, of course, affiliated with the Galactic Empire and the Stormtrooper Corps. I particularly like the Stormtrooper variant and think they deserve the number 9 slot. They appear in Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, as well as more Star Wars related things. The number 8 slot, I decided on Shore Troopers, also known as the Coastal Guard. They are a special variant of Stormtroopers trained for combat in tropical environments. Compared to other variants, Shore Troopers were pretty rare as the need for them and the low amount of tropical environments made them unnecessary in a lot of situations. Many Shore Troopers were stationed at the Imperial Security Complex on Scarif, where they patrolled the bunkers and beaches in and around the facility. Shore Troopers wielded both the E-11 blaster rifle and the E-22 double-barrel blaster rifle. They also carried a highly explosive C-25 grenade. We see Shore Troopers in the standalone film Rogue One. For number 7, I chose Executioner Troopers, who were First Order Stormtroopers randomly selected to dispense the enemies and traitors of the First Order. Because of the First Order's insanely merciless attitude toward literally anything remotely treasonous, Executioner Troopers would carry out several executions a day on anyone that lacked the appropriate amount of loyalty to the First Order. These troopers were selected randomly, and their identity was left anonymous, as they even went as far as adding voice changers to the armor, ensuring nobody knew who was inside. Before Finn deserted the First Order, he was forced to play out this gruesome role, something he deeply hated. The weapons Executioner Troopers used were extra special. Instead of blaster rifles, they carried BL-155 laser axes for the execution purposes, which inflicted great pain on the target. We see Executioner Troopers in The Last Jedi. At the 6th slot, I chose Jump Troopers, also known as Rocket Troopers. These guys were a variant of basic Stormtroopers, and were actually pretty cool. Jump Troopers were special because they carried jetpacks attached to their back, allowing them to suspend or fly through the air. This was useful in many forms of combat, as they sometimes needed to get over walls or simply gain an edge on their opponent. They could carry a variety of weapons, including RT-97C blaster rifles, E-11s, burst shields, or missile launchers. Their armor tended to be rather standard, although they sometimes wore different helmets, and they appeared in both Star Wars canon and Legends. I particularly like how they appeared in Jedi Survivor, as well as Battlefront 2. At number 5, I chose Sith Troopers, elite soldiers loyal to the Sith Eternal, which was a cult centered on the dark planet of Exegol. These troopers were not Force-sensitive despite their misleading name, and they wore red Stormtrooper armor. Sith Troopers were not clones, but actual humans raised on Exegol, who went through intense mental conditioning, basically destroying their free will so they would be completely loyal to the Empire. There were a considerable number of Sith Troopers, and for battle they were divided into groups of 10, which was a good number for a troop as it wasn't too large or too small. Sith Troopers primarily carried ST-W48 blasters, a heavy and powerful rifle. Aside from the standard Sith Troopers, there were also specialized ones. Sith Jetpack Troopers were airborne troopers that were given advanced gear, namely the NJP-900 jetpack. There were also Sovereign Protectors, the best of the best that would sometimes later develop into Royal Guards. We famously see Sith Troopers in Rise of Skywalker, the finale of the Skywalker saga. These elite and interesting troopers deserve the number 5 spot on my list. At the 4 slot, I have Shadow Troopers, elite Stormtrooper variations that served the Empire during the Galactic Civil War. These Shadow Troopers were especially cool because they wore black suits and a portable cloaking device, which made them almost completely invisible and the ideal choice for stealth missions. Thanks to their black armor and cloaking device, they would often take enemies by surprise instead of brute force. Aside from a wide range of survival equipment and the cloaking device, Shadow Troopers also carried E-11 blast rifles, DLT-19 heavy rifles, T-21 heavy blasters, and flash grenades. They could also be equipped with jetpacks or pouches to carry equipment. All of these, of course, in black. Shadow Troopers were introduced in the canon game Star Wars Force Collection. Black armored troopers with cloaking devices also originated in Legends in the game Star Wars Force Unleashed. We also see Shadow Troopers in the newer video game Star Wars Battlefront 2, and they're quite cool to play as. All in all, these dark and secret elite stormtroopers are awesome, and that's why I put them at number 4. For number 3, I chose Death Troopers, a deadly and elite variation of the Stormtrooper. Death Troopers also specialize in stealth missions and wore black suits and helmets, making them very difficult to see in the dark. These troopers acted as protectors and guards for high-ranking Imperial officers, and sometimes guarded Grand Moff Tarkin and Grand Admiral Thrawn themselves. Vocal scrambles are installed in Death Troopers' helmets, allowing for only other Death Troopers to understand what they are saying. The training to become a Death Trooper was difficult as well. Stormtroopers who excelled at their own training were relocated to an advanced Death Trooper camp on Scarif. They take extremely difficult physical tests that greatly enhance their physical and mental attributes. Their strength, speed, and agility alone far exceed that of a normal human. They also have to meet some height and weight requirements as well. To put it into perspective, the average Stormtrooper was 5'11", while the average Death Trooper stood at 6'5". They operated in small groups on the battlefield, but with each trooper becoming extremely lethal. They wore advanced armor and were trained in hand-to-hand as well as weapon combat. Death Troopers appeared in Rogue One, The Mandalorian, and Star Wars Battlefront 2. At number 2, I decided on Dark Troopers, experimental soldiers created by the Galactic Empire. Dark Troopers originally held humans inside like all of the other variants, but the Empire eventually realized that was the weakness, or flaw. They developed Phase 3 Dark Troopers, which were actually battle droids. The third generation units were released onto Typhon to capture Grogu. Phase 3 troopers were equipped with jet boosters on their feet, allowing for flight. Later, Gideon changed the Dark Troopers from a droid into battle armor, which was Beskar alloy, similar to what the Mandalorians wore. Dark Troopers were extremely powerful and deadly due to their enormous size and, once they're developed into droids, unwavering loyalty to the Empire. They appeared in 5 episodes in The Mandalorian. All in all, these impressive and lethal troopers deserve the number 2 spot on my list. Finally, at the number 1 slot, I chose Purge Troopers. The top of the top, these elite and specialized variants of Stormtroopers answer to the Inquisitors and Darth Vader themselves. These highly trained troopers were assigned to hunt the surviving Jedi across the galaxy in an attempt to fully wipe them out. The first batch of Purge Troopers were made up from clones from Order 66. After those ran out, Purge Troopers were selected or recruited from natural humans in the military. They were essentially death squads and often backed up Inquisitors in the search for Jedis. The weapons they carried varied on the mission. For long-range combat, they would carry DC-15A blaster rifles, E-11s, and other blasters they could get their hands on. For short range, they were equipped with electro staffs, electro batons, or electro hammers, all deadly choices. Because they fought Jedi, electro staffs were a good choice to fight the lightsaber. This weapon was designed to repel lightsaber strikes due to the electricity buildup. Purge Troopers appear in Jedi Fallen Order as well as the show Obi-Wan Kenobi. All in all, these Purge Troopers were amazing. Built for all sorts of fighting, were given the best missions to perform, and much more. They deserve the number 1 spot. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive into the best Stormtrooper types and variants in all of Star Wars. What did you think of my list? Were there any troopers I missed? What trooper would you want to be if you had the chance? Let me know in the comments and have a great day. See you in the next video. Peace.